The Constitution of India, Preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution.
Hello 8th standard children. So I am back again with a fresh episode of chemistry. Not an episode, it is a new session. Hope you all are fresh and waiting for this class. Do you remember what I taught you in the previous class? Yes, it was about elements and the origin and how they were named. You want a recap? Okay. Elements were named on the basis of scientists, planets, countries, continents, colors, etc. So last class I told you that I will be teaching you with the next topic, that is symbols, right? S-Y-M-B-O-L-S, symbols. What are these symbols? I also told you it is a short form that is given to the elements. Short names or letters that are given to the elements. Okay, so I'll just read out what is given in the textbook about symbols and then I will start with my topic. Symbols are used for representing elements. Symbols are assigned to elements in different ways. Okay, now there are many elements on this earth and all the elements are given different symbols and the ways are also different. I will teach you, you will understand that gradually. Okay, so in English, my dear children, English language, you know the alphabet, it has 26 letters. From those 26 letters, we get words and from the words, we get sentences, right? Similarly, chemistry also has a beautiful language. From symbols, we are able to write the chemical formula of compounds. What is chemical formula? You will know all that, you will study all that. In higher classes also, you will have a deeper understanding about this topic. As of now, you should understand that the basic thing is atom in chemistry and all the atoms of an element are given different symbols. Don't be confused, I will start with my topic. Now, before I start, you might have heard about Kerala State Electricity Board. Do you always say that words in full always? Always do you say Kerala State Electricity Board, Kerala State Electricity Board? No, it is difficult. What do we say instead? We just say KSEB, right? What about KSRTC? That is also the short form, right, of what? Kerala State Road Transport Corporation. Do we say the whole thing? No, we just say KSRTC. Similarly, there are many short forms that we use. For example, any child, for example, if I talk about a boy called Arjun, this is just an example. If I just want to write about him, Arjun. Arjun is in 7th standard. Arjun is a good boy. Arjun's mother's name is X. Arjun's father's name is Y, so and so. Is it easy for me to write every time on the board Arjun? No, I will think about the short form. I just write A. Or in English we just write he instead of that, right? Arjun is in 7th standard. He is a good boy. His mother's name is so and so. His father's name is so and so. So instead of Arjun we use he or his. That is the representing Arjun. Okay. Similarly, in chemistry also all the elements are given short forms. Every time we can't write or use the whole name of that element. It is very, very difficult. Now one more example I will give. If you have a friend named Krishna Dev, will you always write Krishna Dev, Krishna Dev, Krishna Dev? No, maybe you will call him KD among friends. This is just an example, okay? Or else if there is a boy named Krishna Prasad, you may call him KP. That is easy, simple, right? Short form of his name. Similarly, now I am going to teach you. For example, if I am going to tell you about oxygen, on the board if I am writing about oxygen. Oxygen is a very important gas. We need oxygen for breathing. Plants also take in, all the living organisms take in oxygen. If I am writing on the board, just imagine how difficult it is. So instead of oxygen, writing oxygen everywhere in full, I will just use the short form. And what is that short form of oxygen called? That is the main thing that I am going to teach you today. What is the short form of assigning something to oxygen? That short form that is assigned to oxygen is called its symbol. So now I will be teaching you the first table, and this is very, very important, the basic thing in chemistry. Listen carefully, be attentive. Okay, the first table that is given in your textbook, I am discussing about it in detail, so that has to be written in the file. Is it clear? Okay. Now, the first element that is written in the book, given in the book, is carbon. Now, it is not easy for us to write about carbon, carbon, carbon everywhere. No. So, what is the symbol for carbon? How was it given? Last class I told you it was introduced by Swedish scientist Berzelius, right? Before that, pictures were given as symbols. Okay? That means, for example, I tell you, if hydrogen was given a circle and a dot, this is just an example. Some other gas would have been given like this, some other gas in this manner. So it is very difficult for us to understand. This is just an example. Hydrogen is not like this. So it was really tedious, and so they switched over to symbols. Okay? Now what is the symbol for carbon? There is a rule. You just can't write anything. If I wish to mention carbon, then the rule number 1 is, the first method is, write the first letter that is given in this name, English name, the first letter. First letter in the name. Which is the first letter? C. And that has to be written in capital letters. So this first letter is the symbol, and how will I write it? In capital letters. So if I write C on the board, now it is understood that I mean carbon. If I write C, it is carbon. Clear? So how do we get symbol for carbon? Writing the first letter, and that too in capital letters. Now the next one, oxygen. What is the first letter here? O. So the first letter is the symbol for oxygen, and how we will write it? Capital letter O. Okay. Now nitrogen. What will be the symbol of nitrogen then? The first letter is N. Okay? The first letter is N. So write it in capital letters. Okay. The next one given in the book is hydrogen. Which is the first letter? H. So H, capital H, is the symbol for hydrogen. What about sulfur? This is also an element. All these are elements because they do not split into many other substances. Just one plain substance. Okay. What is the symbol for sulfur? The first letter. First letter is S, and we write it in capital. Understood? The first method, the first table given in your book is this. How do we write the symbols? Write the first letters in capital letters. Understood, my dear children? Don't forget Symbols are always written in capital letters. The first letter symbol, okay? First letter in capital. Now my question is, now if I am telling you about calcium. See, calcium we also need in our body for bones and teeth. It is there in milk, right? That is, it should be consumed in right proportion, or else our bones and teeth won't be strong. So what we do? If I wish to write about calcium, I can't every time write calcium, calcium, calcium. So I will use the symbol. What will be the symbol for calcium, children? What did I tell you now? The first letter will be the symbol. Now if I write the first letter as symbol for calcium, then what about carbon? Carbon also has symbol C. Calcium also I can't write C. So in that case, what we will do? We have to take the first and the second. Remember, first and the second. If there are symbols already given, then we can't use this. We have to go to the next letter. So what is the next letter here? A. So the symbol for calcium is Ca. Understood? I'll write it down again for you. Listen carefully. So if calcium is given, what will be the symbol for calcium? We can't, I told you write the first letter. I wrote the first letter in capital letters, but that is already there for carbon. So I'll take the second letter. And how will I write the second letter? Not capital letters, just small letter. So the symbol for calcium is always C. A will be small. C, this first one in the symbol will be capital. Okay? If there are two letters, the first one must be always capital. The second one will be small letters. Understood? So this was the first method, and now I am moving on to the second method where we take the first letter as well as the second. In all the cases it is not possible, my dear children, you will understand that gradually now. Now I am moving on to the second table that is given in the book. You have to write the second table. I hope this is clear. Elements are given, symbols are also given. The first letter was written in capital letters as symbol. If I write capital S on the board, that means I am talking about sulfur. If I write H, you should understand it is hydrogen. Clear? Okay. Now, the first one given in the textbook is calcium. So I told you, write the first one capital and the second one small letter, Ca. Now after that is chlorine. Chlorine. Some cases we have to write the first one, of course we have to write, and the letter that we stress upon, chlorine. See, we give stress to the letter L, right? So first write C and then the third one, L. In this case it was first and second, but here it is first and third. So rules keep on changing. You have to be very careful. Every time we can't just write the first letter. See, if you write C, just C for carbon also is C, calcium also C, chlorine also C, cobalt also C. No, this is not possible. We can't differentiate into the elements. So in case of calcium, first and second. In case of chlorine, first and third. This must be written in small letters. First letter must be capital. After that it is chromium. So what will be the symbol of chromium? Capital C and R. This tables that I am going to teaching you now, very important. Always questions are asked. You have to write these tables in the file without any doubt. Next one, bromine. I am just teaching you examples that are given in the book. See, the first letter is B and we stress, the second letter is taken here, R. Here there is no stressing, the first and second is already taken. It is understood. We can take the first and second. Now after bromine is beryllium. This is also an element, beryllium. So the first and the second. First is capital letter B, and then you write the second letter, it is E. So I will just teach you again. Calcium, Ca, chlorine, Cl, chromium, Cr. In these two cases we have taken the third letter. Bromine, Br, beryllium, Be. We have taken the first and the second. So every time rules keep on changing. Understood? In the first table we took just the first letter as symbols. Here we are taking as a second in some cases, and in some cases the third also. But remember, the first letter has to be capital and the second letter in the symbol must be written in small letters. Okay? Understood? Now do you want any other examples besides this? Okay. Cobalt. If I tell you to write the symbol for cobalt, you have to write capital C and O. Capital C and O is a symbol for cobalt. Understood? Now there are many elements. Many doubts will be running through your mind. If you know elements, how did they get their names? Right. Now you all eat, we all need salt in our diet. Without salt we cannot survive. Without tasty food, can we relish our diet? No. So what is the symbol for? Now salt is sodium chloride. Sodium. What is the symbol for sodium then? Now I move on to my third table. Please be attentive. Now the third table given in the book. Before that I will teach you something. You have to listen to me. Now this is the element sodium. Now the first letter is S. But the symbol for sodium is not S. It is not SO. It is not Sd. The symbol for sodium is something totally different. Na, capital N, small a. This is very, very important. What is the symbol for sodium? Na. If I write Na on the board, you should understand that it is sodium. Now from where did I get this Na? Is there any relationship here? Na is not at all there. But then from where did I get it? I got it from the Latin name of sodium that is called as natrium. 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 This is the Latin name for sodium. See, in earlier years, many years back, many centuries back, English was not the spoken language. There were many other languages, Latin, Greek and all that. So many elements were discovered then. So the names were given from the meaning of those Latin words. You will know that later. I'll teach you. So from the Latin name of sodium, we got the symbol for sodium, that is Na. Okay. So what is the symbol for sodium? Na. Now the next one is potassium. That is given in the book is potassium. Now, if we go as per the earlier rules, it should be P, along PO, along PT. But the symbol for potassium is K. From where did I get this K from? From the Latin name Kalium. Kalium. Clear? Latin name is Kalium. And here Latin name was natrium. Then, which is given in the book is copper. If you write CO stands for cobalt, not for copper. The symbol for copper is Cu from the Latin name cuprum. Okay? Copper got its symbol Cu from the Latin name cuprum. Okay. Next one is iron. Iron, the symbol is Fe from the Latin name ferrum, which means strong. The meaning is strong. Iron is a very hard, strong metal, right? So from the meanings we get the symbol for some elements. Fe is the symbol for iron, okay, not I, because I is the symbol for some other element, iodine. So I is already used for iodine, we can't use it for iron, so we have to depend upon the Latin names also. Understood? Is it clear? Okay. If you want another element, fluorine, the symbol for fluorine will be F. Iodine it is I. I will send these elements and names if you want separately. Class teachers will forward it to you. Okay? I just don't want to confuse. So whatever is given in the textbook I will teach you. Besides that, I will be giving you some other names also. Don't worry. I know you have many doubts. Okay children, now for example, gold. Gold is a very precious metal. What is the symbol for gold? The symbol for gold will be Au. From the Latin name, aurum. Aurum means heavily very nicely shining metal. Lustrous shining metal. The meaning of aurum is that. Okay, from that we get the symbol Au. Understood? What about silver? Silver, S-I-L-V-E-R. The symbol is entirely different. It is Ag for silver, from argentum. So don't worry, I'll teach you all that. Zinc, Z-D. Okay? Then lead, this plumbum. Many other things. Mercury, hydrogyrum. You know, in the thermometer you might have seen mercury. You have heard about mercury. Mercury, the letter starts with M, then the next letter is E, but the symbol is Hg. Okay, don't worry. I'll help you out. Okay, I will send you the names of the elements and Latin names, though they are never asked, but just for the sake of knowledge, I shall send those names. But for now, these elements and the symbols are very important, always asked in the exams. Okay, so sodium, the symbol is Na from natrium, potassium it is K from calcium, copper it is Cu from cuprum, and iron it is Fe from ferrum. Clear? From the meanings also sometimes we get the symbols. Fe. Clear, my dear children? Okay. Now I hope you will write all these three tables in the file. Now, you might have heard about gas helium. That gas is there present in the sun, which is the main source of energy. So earlier days, the sun god was known as Helios, H-E-L-I-O-S. So the gas present in sun, the element was named as helium and the symbol is He. Understood? So there are different ways in which symbols were assigned to elements. Helium, the symbol is He, and why it was called helium? Because helium is present in the sun and sun god was called as Helios many centuries back. Okay? Either in Greek or in Latin, names or the meanings were used to assign symbols to the elements. Okay, in the first case, the first letter was taken, in the second table, sometimes first in the second or first in the third, and in the third table, totally different Latin names. From the Latin names, we got the symbols. This is also very important. Now I move on to the next page, that is about periodic table. In chemistry, there is a very important table called as the periodic table. Now I will just explain about periodic table to you. You should know, you will study about the periodic table in detail in 9th standard. See, you all are given different classes. Some are in 8A, in 8B, 8C goes on. And in 8A, all the children are given different whole numbers. 8B also, different whole numbers. Right? Similarly, the 118 elements discovered are all given special numbers and special boxes in a table called as the periodic table. Periodic table. Now I can't draw the entire table on the board. I will just tell you the important features of that periodic table, right? Now, in the periodic table, like this, they are horizontally 7 rows. 7 rows. These are called rows. How many rows are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 rows are there. Okay? So these rows are called as periods in chemistry. You also have 8 periods, isn't it? When you come to school every day. Similarly, in the periodic table, there are 7 periods, 7 rows. There are how many periods? 7 periods. Now, vertically also, like this. As I told you, I can't draw everything. It goes on like this. There are 18 groups, vertically 18 groups, or else columns. Can you see these columns? I can't draw on the board, but you should know. You can have a look at the periodic table, it is there in the book. Okay? So, how many rows are there? How many periods are there? Another name for periods is rows. In a row. Okay? 7 periods. And how many groups? 18 groups. And each element is given a separate box. Suppose this element is here, next element is here, next element is here. They are given a separate box, right? And they all have a separate number. Just as you all have roll numbers, they also have a number called as atomic number. Don't worry, you will study all this in 9th standard. Clear? So this is the periodic table with 7 periods horizontally and 18 groups, vertical columns. Okay? Now all the elements have a special place in this table as per their atomic number. What is atomic number? You will have a doubt. Don't worry, you will study in 9th standard. Okay? So this is about the periodic table. Now, if you want, you can have a look at the periodic table and look at some elements that you know where it is. But no need of going in detail, just because now you are in 8th standard. Now after this, I move on to something very, very, very important, that is atoms and molecules. So, I told you in this lesson, we are studying about the basic constituents of matter. I told you that matter is made up of tiny particles, and what are those particles called? That we are going to study now. They are called as atoms, right? The basic unit in chemistry is atom. Now it has come from the word atomos, A-T-O-M-O-S. That means cannot be divided further. Okay? Okay. Now, listen carefully for you all to understand it in a better way, in a simpler way. Don't write all this in the file, just listen and understand what is an atom. Now I told you the symbol for carbon is C, right? Now suppose this is carbon, one atom of carbon. I mean element carbon, sorry. This is element carbon. Now this is an element carbon. I told you elements cannot be split. They can only be made smaller, smaller, smaller. Now suppose I am making this smaller. Ultimately, when I make this smaller, I will I'll reach a point where I cannot divide this block any further. I can only make it smaller. At last, finally, I will get just one point where I cannot make it any more smaller. And that particular final point, or the final thing that we get is called as the atom. Okay? So, atom is the smallest particle of an element which cannot be divided any further. Now, if this is carbon, this is called as a carbon atom which cannot be divided, and this atom will have all the properties of carbon. Carbon എന്തൊക്കെ ഗുണങ്ങളുണ്ടോ, പ്രോപ്പർട്ടീസ് ഉണ്ടോ, ക്യാരക്ടറിസ്റ്റിക്സ് ഉണ്ടോ, അതെല്ലാം ഈ ആറ്റത്തിനുണ്ടാവും. Understood? Elements cannot be decomposed. I can only make it small, and as I go on making it smaller, finally I reach a point where I cannot divide it and break it. This is the final point, and that particular smallest indivisible particle, this is the last final particle, and that is called as atom. Understood? Elemental ഏറ്റവും ചെറിയ particle എന്താണ്? Atom, and this atom has all the properties of this element. Clear? Now you understood what is an atom? Okay, this is atom. Now I go on to the next word, that is molecules. This you have to be very, very attentive and get what are atoms and what are molecules. So elemental ഏറ്റവും ചെറിയ particle ആണ്, smallest particle is atom. Now what are molecules? Now I taught you about compounds, right? Compounds they are formed by the combination of two elements. Now suppose I am taking sodium chloride. There are two elements. This is the symbol. Now you know the symbol for sodium, Na, and Cl is for chlorine. Together we get sodium chloride. This is a compound. If we know the symbols, we can write the name of a compound, formula of a compound also. Okay, this is the chemical formula of the compound sodium chloride. Okay, now to write the chemical formula you should know the number of atoms also. I'll teach you later. So with the help of symbols we got the formula. So this is sodium chloride. Now just for you to understand I am drawing this, okay. Now suppose this is sodium and this is chlorine atom. Together they are present in a compound. Now as I divide here, now here when I divided I got just one final particle, that is called as atom. Now here too when I divide I get the smallest particle. One is square and another is circle. This smallest particle is called as molecules. Clear? So what are molecules? They are the smallest particle of a compound, but this smallest particle will have both the atoms and they exist independently. Okay? Understood? So what is a molecule? Molecule is the smallest particle of a compound. Compound has two different elements in this case, so the molecule will also have two same different, same atoms of, what if there is sodium here, sodium will be here too. If there is chlorine here, chlorine will be here too. Okay? Understood? Now if I am taking compound water, water means it contains hydrogen and oxygen, right? So this is a compound because it is made up of two elements, hydrogen and oxygen. This is the symbol for hydrogen and this is the symbol, I will write it again for you. Now this is hydrogen, this is oxygen, this is water. I'll teach you how we got this too, don't worry. So hydrogen and oxygen together we need for water to be formed. Now this is a compound. Now the smallest particle will also have hydrogen and oxygen, and that particle is called as molecule. Understood? So the smallest particle of an element is called atom. The smallest particle of a compound is called molecule. Is it clear? Okay. Now actually if I tell you something more, even elements can have molecules just like compounds. I think you will be confused, right? But I'll just inform you about this. Now suppose this is an atom of carbon. Okay, suppose this is an atom of carbon. There can be many more carbon atoms, okay? So this 3 carbon atoms together will form an elemental molecule. And 2 different atoms is the molecule of a compound. So molecules can be there for elements as well as for compounds. These are elemental molecules and those are molecules of compounds. But the difference is, in elemental molecule, same type of atoms will be there. But in molecule of a compound, different atoms together will form a molecule. So don't get confused. Just remember that atom is the smallest particle of an element and molecule is the smallest particle of a compound. Is it clear? Okay. Now we have studied about atoms and molecules. Now there are different types of atoms. In some cases, even in school we see some children, they like to be alone. They don't like to have friends. They like to do everything independently. They go alone, walk alone. They don't need anybody. Lonely. But there are some children, they go in groups of 2, pair. Okay? And there are some, they go happily 4 to 5 in a group. Okay? So 3 different types of children. Some are lonely, some in pairs and some in groups. Similarly, there are atoms that prefer to be alone. There are some atoms that forms pairs. And there are some atoms, those who always like to be in groups. What are those atoms called? Those molecules called actually? There are 3 types of molecules. The first one is monoatomic molecules. Monoatomic molecules. Second one is diatomic molecules. And the third one is polyatomic, P-O-L-Y, polyatomic molecules. Okay, 3 types of molecules. I told you molecules are made up of atoms. Okay. What is the meaning of mono? Mono means one, single. Okay. Di means di is 2 and poly means many, more than 2, many. So what is the meaning of mono? Mono means one. So in monoatomic molecules there will be only one atom. Those people, just like those people who like to be alone, these atoms are also, they prefer to be alone. They don't like to mix up with other atoms. So, what are the examples? What are the examples for monoatomic molecules? You wish to know? The examples given in the book are helium. For monoatomic molecules, it is helium. Then neon, argon, krypton. It goes on. They always prefer to be alone. They are monoatomic molecules. Okay, in the atmosphere they are always alone. Suppose this is helium, neon, argon. Different. So I have to denote it in a different way so that you can understand actually. Helium, neon, argon, they prefer to be alone. So they are monoatomic. But there are some atoms, they always go in groups. Pairs. Many examples are there. Hydrogen, 2 molecule, chlorine, they always prefer to be in pairs, 2 atoms. America, always 2 atoms together will be there in the atmosphere. Okay, so they are called as diatomic. Now, then the next one is polyatomic molecules where there are more than 2. Example given in the book is phosphorus and sulfur. I will write it here for you. Third one, phosphorus and sulfur. Okay, but to understand it, I have to now wait till I go to the next class. Now you are seeing numbers here, right? And I told you this mono, di, poly. What is this? Why the numbers are changing? Here the number is 4, here the number is 2. So this I will teach you in the next class. Just remember that there are 3 types of molecules: monoatomic, diatomic and polyatomic. These are the examples, but before you write the examples, you should know why I have written the subscripts here too, and here there is a difference. Okay, so in the next class I will just teach you from where these numbers came, and then again I will go back to this so that you will have a thorough knowledge. Okay? So today I taught you about, what was the first thing that I taught you? Symbols are short forms of elements. They are assigned to elements in different ways. In some cases only the first letter, some cases first and second, or the first and third, and in some cases they get from Latin names. But whatever, the first letter must be capital and the second letter that comes behind must be always in small letters. Is it understood? Then I told you periodic table, there are 7 periods and 18 groups. Then atom is the smallest particle of an element and molecule is the smallest particle of a compound. Now there are 3 types of molecules: monoatomic, diatomic, polyatomic. But don't write this in the file. I will have to teach you in detail and then you will know about it. Okay? Understood, children? Okay. Till I meet you all in the next class, I hope you will all go through my videos, replay, because this is the fundamental knowledge. The pillars, as the house is built on the bricks, isn't it? It's all a foundation. I told you similarly, this is the basic thing that you have to know in chemistry. So now I wind up the session. Bye bye. Thank you.